Okay, so this is the Stockpile Reentry constraint video. We're going to go through why we have these constraints, how to use them, a couple of basic introductory notes about them. So a common enough issue with stockpiles in this space is the removal too fast. So you're adding to your stockpile at a certain rate, but you're removing from that stockpile at a faster rate than you're capable of adding to it. So what that ends up looking like in a stockpile is this sawtooth graph. So we're adding to it at 900 an hour, but we're removing from it at 1,000 an hour. So we're just constantly getting these tiny little sawtooths, and we end up with a lot of time spent where we're not able to empty the stockpile because we're constantly running out of work to do. So if we head to our constraints and add a new stockpile reentry constraint and run it as default, you can see immediately there's some impact to that, and the frequency of depleting the stockpile has already been reduced. The side of the stockpile we're dealing with on for something where the removing is occurring too frequently is this reentry condition to allow removing. So basically it's the least restrictive of the two options. It's either a delay or a quantity limit. So if I set the delay to 1 day and 100,000, then my delay is going to be 1 day. So you can see I start adding to it at about 10 a.m. on the 18th, and I'm able to start removing from it again around that 24-hour period. The graph sampling is not going to be perfect in terms of where you see those turns occur, but the maths in the background will be correct. So if you want to make sure it's always a quantity amount, so let's say I always want to make sure that I've added 20,000 regardless of the amount of time, then what you want to do is set a very long time span and the quantity that you're interested in. So if we rerun that, we get to 20,000, we change it to 30,000, you should be able to predict what the behavior is going to be. We're going to see the graph landing right about there. Pretty good guess. Okay, so this has two benefits. It will speed up your scheduling and will also reduce the amount of output noise that you get. So the schedule with this turned on has 26 steps. Without this turned on, it has 112 steps. So it's basically just a way for you to make sure that you're not doing these tiny little silly actions that are capable of being done. So the flip side of this problem on the other side is where you have your quantity being added to faster than you're removing from it. So the sawtooth graph basically flips around. So if I were to change the rates of my equipment, make the addition to the stockpile slightly higher at 1,100 versus 1,000, what I end up with, and we might also, to help drive that point home, make the stockpile full at the start. Rerun. So what we end up with is this situation where we're doing the opposite. And that's basically just the other side of that constraint. So the side of the constraint we started with was the removing side. What we're going to have a look at now is the addition side, so constraining us from adding to the stockpile. So if we turn that on, turned on, rerun, you can now see we're making sure that we've removed 10,000 before we start to add to it again. We can toy around with that quantity. Once again, remembering that whichever of these two things is the most restrictive is going to be the one, the least restrictive, the one that's the first condition that gets met is going to be the one that releases the capability for the stockpile. So there are a couple of other settings on this that are worth noting, which is the ranges. So if you have more than one stockpile, like you have a low grade, mid grade, high grade, like as in some of the documentation examples, you're going to want a single stockpile reentry constraint for each of those. And yeah, that's about it. If you've got any ideas about how you want them to work for your stockpiles, you have any questions, please, as always, support@precisionmining.com. You can use the send feedback button, or alternatively, during business hours, give us a buzz on 073539 0000. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you next time.